one life. This is this life of God that we celebrate, this life of God that we love and we know. And so welcome to the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living. We are continuing with our July theme. No, we're beginning our July theme. This is the first Sunday. We're beginning our July theme, which is speaking truth to monsters, speaking truth to circumstances. Let me slow down and back up. I've been looking at July, the month of July, so I'm kind of moving forward ahead of myself. Today, we are beginning our July theme, which is speaking truth to circumstances. And our topic for today is Monsters, Inc., and it's sort of a takeoff on the movie of the same title. And I've added out there has no power. And so thanks to Daniel Nahmod for our musical inspiration this morning, it reminds us that there's only one power, and that power is love, that power is spirit, that power is that which resides within each one of us. Tomorrow we celebrate in this country Independence Day, and so I say happy July 4th to those who celebrate this. And Bobby shared with us this morning some spiritual quotes that have a meaning that resonated with me for the 4th of July. And the last one I want to share again for our larger audience, and that is, listen to me. There is freedom in love. Every day should feel like Independence Day. And this is from Evie Michaels. I'll share with you a little humor this morning. This is an interesting story that I read, and it has some resonance. Some elements have resonance within my own life and with the experiences others have shared with me. So the story goes, a mother is passing by her daughter's bedroom, and she's astonished to see that the bed is nicely made up. Everything is picked up and put in place. And then she saw an envelope popped prominently on the center of the bed. And it was addressed, Mom. With the worst premonition, the mother opened the envelope and read the following letter with trembling hands. Dear Mom, it is with great regret and sorrow that I am writing to you. I had to elope with my new boyfriend because I wanted to avoid a scene with you and Dad. I've been finding real passion with John, and he is so nice, even with all of his piercing, tattoos, beard, and his motorcycle clothes. Can you imagine where this is going? But it's not only the passion, Mom. I'm pregnant. And John says that we would be very happy. He already owns a trailer in the woods, has a stack of firewood for the summer, stack of firewood for the winter, and he wants to have many more children with me, and that's now one of my dreams too. John taught me how to grow marijuana and said that it really doesn't hurt anyone. Anyway, we will be growing it for us and trading it with his friends for other things that we want. In the meantime, I will pray that science finds a cure for AIDS so John can get better. He sure deserves it. This is just going more deeper and deeper and deeper. Don't worry, Mom. I'm 15 years old now, and I know how to take care of myself. Someday, I'm sure we'll be back to visit so that you can get to know your grandchildren. And it's signed, your daughter, Kate. And then she adds a P.S. Mom, none of the above is true. I'm over at the neighbor's house. I just wanted to remind you that there are worse things in life than my report card, which is in my desk drawer. I love you. Call me when it's safe for me to come home. And so I think we can agree that in this story, Kate, the 15-year-old, already had an understanding of how to turn those mean monsters, to face those circumstances, into friends and shift the focus away from the report card to more critical things in her mind that could be happening in her life. And so that's a good segue into our topic this morning. Monsters out there has no power. Monsters generally represent a negative power. The word power triggers many reactions among people. And I'm just recalling from some of my early experiences when I worked in corporate and was involved in some other things that people would identify me as having power and, stand in your power, recognize what it is that you represent and what you bring. And this was before I truly began to embrace the teachings of science of mind. And my response to that was, no, I don't have power. Because the view that I had of power was that it was used as an abusive, it was used to control, it was used in a negative way. That was the model that I had focused on. Coming into this teaching and learning that the power is within me, that it is not out there, has allowed me to shift my focus and to recognize that this thing called power is something bigger than the individual. One of the cornerstones of our teachings in Science of Mind is there is only one power. And you will notice in our spiritual mind treatments, as we are establishing the foundation and the framework for the treatment, the practitioner or the minister, the one that is delivering the treatment, will always say, well, not always, but generally we will include the phrase, there is only one life, there is only one power, there is only one cause. So we're establishing that base point that says, it is from this idea of God, this essence of spirit, whatever it is that we call it. This is the power. This is where I'm getting my power from. I am connected with it. And that's a segue into the unification statement, which says, I am one with this, whatever the this is that we connect with. You may have heard the phrase, speak truth to that power. And this phrase, speak truth to that power, is often used to indicate a commitment to stand on those who we perceive as, to stand up for those who we perceive as more powerful than us. In truth, there is no one who is more or less powerful than we are, because we are all equally infinite in the expression and in this mind of spirit. The only difference is our level of awareness. And as I shared with you in my own personal experience of using the word power, it was my level of awareness that I shifted to have a different view. And so as we grow in our understanding of the essence of the one power, we know that the truth and power are one in the realm of spirit. They are the same in the realm of spirit. Monsters and fears are our error thoughts that we buy into. Ernest Holmes says, we should be able to look a discordant fact into the face and deny its reality. And I looked up the word discordant in the dictionary, and there are two definitions that I want to share with you. The first one is disparaging or incongruous. And the second one is sounds that are harsh and jarring because there is a lack of harmony. So this discordant fact that Ernest is telling us to look into the face and deny is that place of inharmony. If I think in music, and Amber can co-sign with me on this, there are dissonant chords that blend into the harmonic chords. And so there's a balance between the dissonance and the harmonic that bring about a nice melody. So it's often those contrasts that add to the pleasing sound that we enjoy as a result of that. Another way of saying this, another way of phrasing what Holmes has said, is that we should be able to look at a wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it. We have the power to change those conditions. And the reference for this is the Science of Mind textbook, page 53, paragraph 5. There is nothing greater than the infinite presence. And when we attempt to fight outside circumstances, we only give those circumstances power over our mind. We buy into the illusion of power. And we build certain people and organizations into monsters, giving them a power that isn't real. We may feel like we're giving away our power. However, that is actually impossible. I want you to really get this point. It is impossible to give away our power, as we are always spirit informed. So our power comes from the source of who we are, the very essence of who we are. So it is impossible to give away our power. We may fall into the illusion that someone else has taken our power, or we have allowed them to control us in a certain way. And when we get tired, it's like the proverbial story. I'm thinking of this, of the dog that is on the porch and is laying on a tack and is just moaning with pain from the tack. And someone passes by and says to the owner, why don't you move the dog off of the tack? And the owner replies, when he's tired of the pain, he'll move. And so this is how this way of looking at monsters in our lives, when we get tired of fighting the monster, we move. We reclaim, we move back into the awareness and the truth that we are the one power. And there are times when we just have to get to that point that says, remind me that I know, even when I forget. Remind me that I know, even when I forget. When we encounter people or circumstances or organizations that seem all-powerful, there are actually people who have a high need for control. And this need for control comes out of fear. And so when we confuse power and control, we are reminded that power is simply the ability to get things done. The ability to get things done. We may hear phrases like power tends to corrupt, or absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yet, since the only real power in the universe is spirit, that phrase would imply a corporate that phrase would imply a corrupt infinite. So if we're buying into this phase that absolute power corrupts, and it corrupts absolutely, then in essence we're denying the infinite as the only power, because the infinite, this indwelling spirit, does not corrupt. It is only here to love us. It is here to show us the way and remind us of the way to love. And I love this phrase from the Buddha that says, no one outside of ourselves can rule us inwardly. When we know this, we become free. No one outside of ourselves can rule us inwardly. When we know this, we become free. Ernest talks about the smoke and mirrors of what seem to be that are in opposite to the truth. And he writes this: one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. one alone in consciousness with the infinite, constitutes a complete majority. So God and I are one. God and I are one. I am one with God. We really don't need any more than that. That establishes our worth. That establishes our identity as one with the divine. Another way of looking at this is to recognize that when we spend time alone in consciousness with the infinite, when we spend time alone in consciousness with the infinite, we are tapped into a power that is greater than we are. We may not know the how of creating a better world or changing whatever the condition is. We may not know the how, but the invitation is for us to dance in the mystery of the how and to declare the what. So we let go of how something is going to happen and we declare, this is what my experience will be as a result of this, or this is what the group experience will be as a result of this. Some of this we do in the practice of visioning. When we're visioning for our center, we are going within and we're asking Spirit, what is God's highest expression? What is God's highest expression for this activity, or whatever it is that we're choosing? And we go into that space of aloneness with the infinite, and we ask, what is mine to embody? What is mine to release? And is there anything else that I need to know in this moment? And we're not asking how this is going to happen. We're saying, what is mine to be and do to bring about this experience? Science of Mind also teaches that we do not fight evil. Evil, as Ernest Holmes describes, is that which seems destructive. It is an experience of the soul. It is a journey towards the realization of reality. And this is found in the definitions on page 590 in our textbook. When we engage with fighting with the other, be it a person, a place, or a thing, we're caught up in that belief of separation and faith, and we lose the one power. This does not mean that we sit on our chairs and meditate and do nothing. It means that we gain a higher perspective, and that we shift our consciousness upward so that we can be the most effective in our actions and create real change to unwind our old patterns. There's a metaphor that I share with you, and it's about the aspen tree and the redwoods. The aspen tree is not a solid majestuary. Each individual tree forms a part of an enormous root system. The aspen is the largest living organism in the world. The giant redwoods are the most massive individual trees on earth. The redwood can grow to 275 feet tall and has remarkably shallow roots, often only 5 or 6 feet deep. It seems to violate the laws of physics that they can stand up for hundreds or thousands of years. That is until we know one more fact. The redwoods grow in thick groves, and because their shallow roots are intertwined and over time fused together, they start as individuals and become one with the others as they mature and grow. The aspen and the redwood trees are almost perfect metaphors for the Buddhist belief that the self is actually an illusion. We share this belief in Science of Mind. And so as we continue to grow in consciousness, we become like the redwoods. Our shallow roots become one and intertwined and fused together, creating a manifested whole. And so the concluding thoughts or points that I would leave with you today is, we do not have to stand in opposition to people, places, or things. We are all unique expressions of spirit, and we can co-create in mind what works for everyone right where they are. That which seems like monsters, those people, organizations, or circumstances, are not as real as it appears. Fears like monsters can make a lot of noise, huffing and puffing and even blowing a house down. Our job is to turn those monsters into friends. We look through the mind of the infinite, and we recognize that nothing is as solid as it seems. And I like this quote from Plotinus. I do not argue, I contemplate, and as I contemplate, I fall asleep in the infinite and the well-being of all life. Let us pray together. Moving into this place of stillness, where we know that there is only one life and one power and one presence. I recognize this life and this power and this presence as my life, the eternal life that lives and moves and expresses through me and through all beings, through all circumstances, through everything that there is. Knowing that as we travel this path, this journey together, that those seeming points where our roots are shallow and we may be tossing and turning or blown about by the wind, we also have that power within us, and we remember to recognize that God is the only power, that there is only one presence. And it is through our interconnectedness that the roots of our spiritual being, the roots of our spiritual knowing are fused together, and we stand in unity in the oneness of life. I speak a word of blessing this morning, especially during this time of candidating and licensing of our spiritual mind practitioners, our licensed practitioners within our Centers for Spiritual Living organization. Those individuals who have dedicated their lives to knowing the truth, to helping us to remember when we forget who we are. I bless those new licensed practitioners who are joining this vast network, adding their roots to this system of connectivity that holds us and connects us all together. I speak a word of blessing for our centers for spiritual living and for other places where people are gathering in the name and nature of the one life and the one power and the one presence. Knowing that there are many paths that lead to this place that is called truth, this place that is called love, this place that is called God, and that we're all one in the infinite and in this creative expression. I know and I know and I know that as I look, as I recognize, and as I look at those discordant facts, I can say with assurance, get thee behind me. There is no place in my life for this process and for this experience. And so standing in the awareness of this truth, with deep, deep gratitude, I give thanks for all that there is in this marvelous life, this adventure, this journey, as we continue to move higher and higher in consciousness, recognizing the oneness of all that there is. And so it is in deep gratitude that I now release this word, I release this prayer back into that law, which always says yes. And I just allow it to be so. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, I invite you to affirm it with me as we say together, and so it is. And I apologize again, my computer, this is a reminder that I probably need to replace the battery. It's chosen to do something differently, but I'm still on the screen. That's the good news. That's the good news. Before we move into our statement of abundance, I mentioned our newly licensed practitioners, and I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge our own Sandy Nee. Sandy, if you would just be willing to stand. Let us acknowledge Sandy. Sandy completed her all of the requirements, including her oral panels on last Saturday, the 24th, and is now a licensed practitioner with Centers for Spiritual Living and will be serving us here at the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living. So welcome, Sandy. And we will have a celebration at a date yet to be determined. Yeah, there are some documents that we're waiting for it to come from home office, and we'll have conversation, and we'll do that. So welcome, Sandy. So now you have a new person to check in with and to invite you to celebrate your joys and to also recognize that those monsters have no power over me. I can release my fear, I can let go, and I can be the truth of who I am. And now let us say together our affirmation of abundance as we prepare for our tithes and offerings. I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so in gratitude for the ways that you continue to support this spiritual community, I encourage you to continue to do so by mailing in your donations to our center, and the address is on our screen. You may text to give, and that telephone number is on the screen. You may also donate online, and for those of you who are here in the center this morning, we have a donation box on our table, hospitality table in the center, and we invite you to leave your donations there. And again, thank you for the way that you continue to support our community. Following our gathering this morning, we invite you to stay for coffee and for a conversation. And today also is no Love in Action today. So we're going to celebrate the weekend. Yes, yes, yes. Next, we invite you to join us on Saturday mornings as we vision for our center. We do that via Zoom, and that Zoom number it's the same Zoom number that we use for our Sunday celebration. You may find that in our newsletter and also on our website. And we invite you to join us Sunday morning, both via Zoom and in person, as we vision for our own personal life experiences. And that is a different Zoom number from the celebration Zoom. So check the newsletter and also our website for that information. The ongoing volunteer opportunities here at the center, we have a listing of those in the foyer as you enter. So I invite you to take that. And if something resonates with you, do that. If there's something else that you would like to do, let us know. Because working together, we form this community and we continue to embrace one another and to strengthen our root system so that we are in a position to give from the overflow of our own cups as we live this life of love. We're continuing to recruit for a bookkeeper. Shouldn't be this hard to find a bookkeeper. It doesn't seem like it to me. We are looking for someone who has experience with QuickBooks Online, and this can also be a remote position. One does not have to come into the office to do this work. If you're interested or if you know someone who may have that skill set, please contact Bobby Hall, and her information is in the newsletter and it is also on the website. We invite those who are part of our virtual family in our Facebook and YouTube community to join us next Sunday as we continue our theme for the month of July, Speaking Truth to Circumstances. And the message will be, Got Me Hypnotized. Got me hypnotized. So again, we're going to be looking at the fears, we're going to be looking at the monsters. We're going to recognize where we have been bamboozled into believing something is not the truth of who we are. So please come back for that. And we do have a couple of minutes for sharing of a demonstration. And oh, thank you. And so we say good morning to our Facebook and our YouTube family. Thank you for joining us, and remember to share, to hit the like and share button, and use at least 4 words with no emojis to express the love that flows from our hearts to your hearts, and invite your friends and family to be a part of this experience.